managed to close this deal. And yeah, and what I'm super grateful about talking about results is that, like, just on a general level, is that from my previous job, I was thinking, okay, maybe I can bump up, like increase maybe like 10% every year or 5%, maybe, if I were going to stay like in that job. But here in the digital marketing world, I started very low, just enough to feed myself. Then I started to feed my family. And then closing more clients, I tripled basically my monthly income.
Hello, everyone. Rich UX here from Rich+Niche.com. It's 2021, and it's time for a new series to start for Rich and Niche content. I want to start sharing the stories of my students. And so today I'm joined by one of my earliest students, Daniel Lardizabal, who is from the Philippines. He's been in my community for over a year, about a year. We're going to hear his story today about what he's been doing in the last 12 months, what he's learned, just so other students out there who might be in a similar position can hear what it's like to go through our programs, be a part of our community. So welcome, Daniel. Great to have you here today.
Hey, Mr. Rich, thanks for having me. Super excited to share everything that I've been gone through.
That's great, Daniel. Thanks for being the first. Thanks for taking a chance. And some of you might recognize Daniel's voice. He already serves the Rich and Niche community by managing our podcast, as he is a bit of an audio expert, which we've taken full advantage of. Its podcast has been going strong now for multiple months, no missed weeks, nicely consistent, probably my most consistent content, actually. And it just goes to show that, when you have support, you really can sustain yourself a lot easier. Not enough about me and the podcast, though. Daniel, I want to jump right into it. First of all, why don't you tell people, give us an idea of, maybe 2019, before you knew about Rich and Niche, where were you? And then how did you end up finding me or Rich and Niche?
All right. Yeah. So 2019, late 2019, I was in what do you call this? In a personal crisis. I was asking myself, am I happy with where I'm going in with my work, with my life? And if you're like gonna look at my life back then from the outside, you would say, yeah, you have a stable job. I was a training manager for this mobile company, one of the top in our country. And I had this, like, I was following the career ladder that people were like looking up to. But deep inside me, I was just like asking myself, like, I think, maybe there should be something more than this. Maybe there should be, like, it shouldn't be this easy. I mean, it wasn't easy, but it felt like I was doing the same things over and over again. So I wanted to challenge myself. I took a leap of faith. And for some people, they might say that I was crazy because I already have a family. I have 2 kids, and that you wouldn't be like doing something like that in a stage in life with where I was. But I told myself, you know what, if I'm going to take this risk and the benefits are going to be super great compared to the risk, then, then that's good. The worst thing that can happen is I'll go back and, get another job. So I jumped off, super excited and feeling the freedom. But then later on, I realized it was not going to be that easy. I guess that was like my hubris, overconfidence talking. But I wasn't giving up. There were a couple of job offers, but I told myself, no, that's okay. Job offers, you can wait. So I did some research online. I found a book, a really good book called The $1 Million Consulting by Alan Weiss. And from there, I was like looking for reviews, and I searched for in YouTube, and then all of a sudden, I found your channel. It was the video, the highest viewed video in your channel, and it talks about the what digital marketing consulting is. Mm-hmm. And so that was really nice, because when I saw your video, I just felt here's a guy who is not like the other YouTubers that I was like looking at. Your vibe was very different. And from there, I followed I subscribed, I followed your Instagram as well, and we chatted. And yeah, from there, I saw you were building your courses, and that got me hooked in with the Rich and Niche universe.
I want to just before we go on, like note the power or the, the fact that you have two children and how challenging that must be. As I've become a new dad in the last year, and I can't imagine the pressure. But do you think that, that added pressure was actually helpful for you? Do you think you were extra motivated, or were you trying to prove people wrong? I mean, how did you tell us more about how you felt during that time? Because it sounds more scary than you made it out to be. I mean, what was going on in your mind?
It was super scary, and there were nights where I was actually having a hard time sleeping. I was thinking to myself, maybe I made the wrong decision. And I sold a lot of stuff. So for anyone who's thinking of doing this, it is not an easy path. I had to make sacrifices. I sold my precious things, my guitar, my gadgets, everything that I bought when I was like in my 20s and thought I would want, but now, someone else wants them. So I sold all of that. It really hurt a lot. And my kids saw me like crying. Oh, I'm selling this. But I told myself, you know what? I can make this money back. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go through this, because if I'm not going to go through this pain now, eventually I'm going to go through like a different kind of pain. So that feeling was actually, I felt super uncertain, but I knew that if there were other people who made it, I need to go through what they're already doing. I can't have a business if I have a job, right? So I had to give up something.
So were you selling things to build up like a savings, or was it because your runway was ending and you needed more to sustain yourself? Was it like at the beginning that you wanted to sell it all so that you would have extra funds?
Yeah, I had enough savings in my like 3 months of savings, and then that was about to be, it needs to be replenished.
Mhm.
So in my head, I was thinking, okay, all my other forms of savings are going to be my things that I can sell. So it was really interesting, because while I was looking for other opportunities, trying different things, uh, trying like remote kind of jobs, but it wasn't working out. I was selling on the side mostly, and I was using Facebook groups, talking with other people,
Mm,
Instagram, and there's also this app that we have here in the Philippines. I think it's Southeast Asia, like Carousel. So I'm posting a lot of pictures, talking with people, and that's how I was like
interesting.
hustling.
That's interesting because I teach people that the first thing you need to learn is how to sell something on Facebook or Craigslist or one of these free sites, because you got to put a picture, you got to convince someone it's worth it, you got to get some money out of it. I think that's fascinating that you went through that process right before you kind of got more into digital marketing. Let's jump into digital marketing a bit. You saw I had some courses going and stuff. But tell me a bit more about how we connected and just what you did at that time. What did you say? Because I can't really remember how we actually started the conversation. What were you approaching me about?
Oh, it was about that controversial story you posted where,
Ah,
yeah, and then I asked you about what happened. Oh no,
oh,
and I
interesting.
realized, wow, there's a different world out there, and I felt there, the way that you answered me, I felt that you knew more than what other people knew.
Interesting. So I think I identified you as a question asker, and that was important. I think it's very important to ask questions in life at all times. And the questions you ask really define the path that you create, because what you're seeking, what you're curious about, what drives you, that defines your life. So that's very interesting that that's how we got started. I'm sure it was, regarding 2020 and some of the happenings during 2020, a lot of different storylines going on there. We don't need to stay there, but that's interesting. I do like to hear that. So did you take all of my courses, and which one did you take first?
The very first course was the raw course, where it wasn't available to the
Ah,
public.
yes, that's right. That's right. You were so enthusiastic. I said, why don't you actually take my old course? Tell me what you think about it. That was the one I did like more in 2018, 2019. That's fantastic. I mean, that's hard to watch. Those were like 12 3-hour videos. So those are really difficult. But did you end up getting into the full stack marketing funnels?
Yes, I did, and that course was the first course that helped me shape my foundation, and even until now, it's it's one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
What
because
makes
right.
that course different, and what is it about that course? I hear a lot of people say that, and I didn't think about anything special when I first started to create it. So, what is the essence that really gives that solid feel to it?
So for me, when you were talking to me like about funnels 2019, I had I kind of had an idea, but I just see this shape, and it reminds me of my high school class. Okay, that's a funnel.
Mm,
But,
mhm.
like what is it really? So in your course, you made me see everything like in all angles, like what's happening in the customer journeys process, and that was the most important thing. Like what's going to happen if I do this, if the customers will go here, what are we going to do next? So every single step of the way. So what I mentioned in my feeling of like not having a job, I mean, quitting my job, I felt uncertain, and from taking the course I felt more certain that, okay, here are the steps, here are the standard operating procedures that I can take, and this is how I can package it, and this is how I can sell it.
So, even in the course, you felt like you learned something you could sell.
That's right.
I think that's
And
powerful.
it's super powerful. And what tied the whole selling as well is the book that we worked together, Attract and
Mm,
Convert.
yes. Right. For those of you who wouldn't know that, probably Daniel also was a key player in helping me edit my ebook, Attract and Convert the Business Basics of Freelance Marketers. Daniel has just shown a lot of enthusiasm. And in our community, we are very student based. The students get a lot of opportunities in our world, and that's what's fantastic. So, that's why I felt, you'd be an excellent first choice. You have so many different things we can discuss. After you finish the course, though, did you take action on it? Were you trying to put it in play right away? How did it feel once you'd finished with the course and you weren't really watching the videos anymore? You were like, I want to go into the market now and do stuff. What was that like?
That's right. And I was challenging myself to go and talk to business owners. And I remember asking for a coaching session with you on how to execute that. I was talking with CEOs of big companies, and I was trying to sell this funnel. And this was pre-COVID time, and
Mm,
like just a few months before COVID was gonna hit. Um, and I wanted to get back to them, but then all of a sudden COVID was happening
yes.
already, and it did not seem like the plan that we were setting up with these people. Didn't seem like it was ideal. But the good thing there was that I was able to break through my own fear of like, okay, can I really do this? Can I really talk with people who are like, business owners who have more experience than me? And what I realized from that experience is that, hey, even though these people are maybe CEOs and stuff, but there are things that they don't know yet, and these are things like what's happening right now, the digital marketing world, and that's something that we can offer for these people. I remember
Mm,
what you told me, like there's there's two types of businessmen. There's people who don't want to do the things that they already know. These are the digital marketing things, but there are also people who have no idea about these tools, and they're missing out. So you just got to look out for these two types of people. And when I was talking with these people, I was really amazed. I felt more comfortable because they 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 were more trusting in our conversation, because I had a process. I knew the questions, right?
mm.
Instead of selling something right away, I was more focused on, okay, let's sit down, let's talk about your business, and let's go through this process.
Yeah, I think it's really surprising to some business owners how far ahead we actually are. I guess myself, mainly the leader of this community, but our confidence to sort of put down a system in front of them and explain why it's going to work, it's really a new era. I mean, before marketing was very tactical online. It's like maybe you had a Facebook page, maybe you try running Google ads. Now it's this entire system to systematically generate business, grow your customer base. And I just think that, yeah, it is very surprising to some of these business owners. And they get excited because very few people are showing them things where they could create a whole new revenue stream or a new scalability of what they offer. So it is a very exciting time. Let me ask you though, in the last 12 months, you've spent a lot of different time with me. You joined my community calls. We've worked together a little bit. what is the one thing, what's the one big epiphany you've had about life, about marketing, about your career? One thing that you really came to light on, and that really rings true for you now that maybe wasn't so true a year ago or so?
There's so much that I want to share,
Oh,
but
go ahead,
I
share
think
one or two then.
yeah, I feel like the biggest is that I don't have to wait for other people to give me an opportunity. I can be responsible in opening doors for myself.
Mm.
And that was like the biggest breakthrough that I had, because in my old life, there's that ladder and there's a limit. There's a ceiling for how much I can earn and what I can do and what who I can help. But being a freelancer, being a business owner, and like going in that path, there's being responsible, it's really powerful. It's really up to me how I want to shape my path. And you talked about the ikigai. What I love about what you're doing also is that you're not the typical like uh like course creator who's like focused, okay, you gotta focus on making money, but you're also focused, is this your ikigai? Are you happy with it? Are you using your strengths? So my biggest epiphany is that I can use all of my strengths, all of my talents, and still make enough money, feed my family, help other people, and this is my ikigai. So I'm really I want to point out here, I'm super grateful for Mr. Rich, because I feel like you're not just a course teacher for me. You're not just a course teacher for me, but you are like my mentor. So thank you, Mr. Rich.
Got goosebumps on that one, man. It's true. When you like what you do and you're helping people and you can feed your family, you don't need much more. It's a fulfilling feeling and you don't feel like, oh, what am I missing? So that's wonderful that you've discovered some of those. I like that you chose the word responsibility. I think that's one of the main words I teach at all the beginning of things. Whenever I'm starting, I remind people it is to respond and to take action. So that's wonderful. We've got a nice 20-minute opening here. We need to talk about results. I mean, this was a fancy little welcome into the show, but I need people to know that you've had some substantial results. Let's talk about that. Tell me and frame up sort of the recent successes you've had using the digital marketing principles we teach.
All right. So the first success that I had was really getting my own clients on my own. Um, I do feel the second course was also really powerful for me.
Which one is
The,
that?
the marketing consulting essentials,
Mhm.
because from there you open up my eyes that I can use these tools to have my own system, my own SOPs, and just creating that process like one time, and then I can reuse it again and again for other potential clients. I think that was super powerful. And I managed to close a couple of deals for my local area, and that was like, wow, okay, I'm now able to earn enough to feed my family. But then later on, I was also being like, other people were also like knowing that, hey, I'm doing some these things, I'm doing some editing. I met Kevin as well, so I'm helping him out with his YouTube, and Kevin has been super helpful, and he's seen my work as well. And the other side benefit, by the way, Mr. Rich, that what I've noticed is that um, one of the things that was holding me back before was that, what if I don't know these things? What if I don't have a certain skill? What's interesting that I was reflecting about, my journey last year, is that while I'm working with my clients, the clients are also training me what like very specific things that I need to know about their industry. So it's not like I'm on my own and I need to provide all the solutions. So it's
Right.
more like, we gotta both do the work, the
Yeah.
client and myself. So from there, I'm able to close a couple of clients as well. There's international clients from America, and there's a new one. I think I haven't shared with you yet. There's a new one from France as well. So that was pretty interesting, and I managed to close this deal. And yeah, and what I'm super grateful about, talking about results, is that, like, just on a general level, is that from my previous job, I was thinking, okay, maybe I can bump up, like increase maybe like 10% every year or 5%, maybe, if I were going to stay like in that job. But here in the digital marketing world, I started very low. just enough to feed myself. Then I started to feed my family, and then closing more clients, I tripled basically my monthly income. And that was like right now I'm after this call, like a few hours from now, I have new calls for potential clients, and I'm just like, wow, this is happening so fast. And so what's going on is that I need to duplicate myself as well. So I'm amazed that uh, one, it's possible to generate these results without having a income ceiling, and two, it's also fun. Looking for solutions, different things. I'm kind of going vague over here because I'm not sure if it's okay to divulge the other clients, but
Well, maybe you can
what I
tell us not what they do or who they are, but give us some numbers or some of your funnel results that you were alluding to. Just give us a sense of how well it worked for you.
all right, so so for two of my clients, I applied everything I've learned from you, Mr. Rich. And by the way, I'm still an ongoing student from Mr. Rich,
We're
for Mr.
all
Rich's
students, yes.
yeah, from for the academy. I
Mhm.
really want to highlight that because it's an ongoing like training. It's not like
Yes.
I'm gonna stop learning and then I can also ask for feedback. But anyway, there are these two clients. I applied everything I've learned. I mapped out the funnel from beginning, middle, and end, and I'm amazed with the result. And I remember chatting with you last year, like, hey, Mr. Rich, after a month of applying the results, I mean the execution and the planning, that funnel produced 20K of sales, and I was just like, wow,
20,000 US dollars,
20,000 US dollars.
which is quite a strong amount coming from Philippines to do any sort of project like that, right? It feels pretty good, right?
Oh yeah, and what was important for me was that the client was really happy,
Nice.
like
Exactly. Yeah.
super happy, and that was like my end goal. Like, okay, how can I make this client happy? How can we make sure that there is value, not just for myself, first for my client.
Of course.
The second client, yes, I also asked like, okay, what would make you happy? How would you define success for this? And I always ask that question. So this client also earned 10,000, and now this other client is now reaching about 50 to 60K. So this is just like a recent launch. So yeah, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? The next thing for me is that I'm creating all of this for my client. Thank you, Mr. Rich. This is really possible. But now I'm thinking, well, maybe I should do this for myself too, like for my personal brand. And one of the main lessons that you're teaching is that you're either building someone else's brand and you are gaining experience from that. You are, also like learning everything, applying everything for your client. But at the same time, you can also be building your own brand. And I think that is more like a future proof, like where we have our own brand, we're working on that, sell something on the side, do consulting. So all of these things combined, that would be like the ideal that I'd love to have. So for myself, for this year, I made a goal. Okay, I'm going to invest enough money to train other people, do what I'm doing now. I'm going to focus on the consulting, have my own agency so that I can help um, other small business owners, and I can be their pocket CMO. So that's all the stuff that's been pretty exciting so far.
That's beautiful. That's a lot of money earned. I mean, that's value, right? That means people receive value and your clients receive value. That's fantastic. If you could pinpoint just one thing from those successful projects that you kind of took from the courses as sort of a tactical thing, what would you pinpoint it as something that's really exciting that maybe your client didn't realize how critical it would be?
Something, yeah, it was definitely the question and asking process, the consulting process. In the beginning, I felt like it's pretty hard to yeah, like get the sense of like feedback. But when you're looking at the camera and you're getting the response from the client, you kind of sense something. And for me, while I was doing the consulting session, I kind of sense like maybe this is not really useful. We're kind of wasting our time. Let's jump into like working mode. But I insisted on like, you know what? Let's work on this one. Like my personal favorite is the escape and arrival. Like what is the like what is the thing that your ideal customers are running away from, and what do they really want to go for, and just listing those things out. That was a super powerful exercise. And because of those exercises, the copy, the funnel, everything, the branding became so much easier.
Yes.
So that was the thing that was like surprising for the client as well.
Excellent. I love to hear that one. I wasn't sure what you were going to say, but that's definitely a good one. Escape and Arrival is just a fantastic framework that we teach that works every single time because people really want transformation. They don't want to stay the same. So that's fantastic. Well, that's some great results. And that was exactly what I wanted to hear as far as, where you've gotten to. So now that we have this, now that you've tripled your income, I mean, how do you look back at your job? How do you feel about jobs? Could you ever go back now? Do you think it's too late and you can't go back? I mean, let's be honest about that. That's something real that happens. And tell me how you feel about that.
Uh, Even until now, like my previous coworkers, they're still asking me, when are you coming back? And I was asked to go work for a higher position in the company. And they told me, like, if you're ready, we're still open, available. This work is still for you. I'm looking back at that now, and I'm saying to myself, I think that job was a good bridge job. Like, some people would say, jobs are bad, but for me personally, jobs are, when you're just starting out, it's good so that you can go through like this experience and you can find for yourself if this is for you or not. And just because you're in a job doesn't mean like, that's that. I also had the mindset of like, okay, how can I become like an entrepreneur? And there's a term now called like intrapreneur. How can you apply business skills even though you're in a job? However, the limit is still there. So if
Yeah,
I'm
they
going to look
say
back,
entrepreneur. They pretend like they like it, but really they want
yeah,
you to be a worker. It's pretty. It's kind of this lingo you hear. It's true. It's a
yeah.
tricky one.
I guess that's something, so that I wouldn't feel bad if I'm still working, and I don't want to offend people who are still working, but
Totally.
I do think that it's important for oneself, like if for you, whoever you are, if you're going through like what I was going through before, you have to be honest with yourself if
Mhm.
you are really satisfied with what you are facing or not, because you yourself know your potential. And I don't think it's good for other people to dictate to you like this is the level that you can be. I think it's for you to find out like, okay, how much can I grow if I do this? So I feel like I know that kind of, it sounds like a super ambitious or maybe arrogant to, oh, you're quitting a stable job. But for me, I don't think it's fair for myself and for my family if I'm not, I know this is cliche, but I'm not being true to myself.
Yeah, it isn't for everybody. We need to have self-awareness if we feel unsatisfied. Like you said, if you're satisfied, don't mess up a stable thing. You don't want your life to be too dramatic, but it's when you have the burning desire to do something with your own skill, your own mind, without any restrictions, and even take a bit of risk on that. I mean, everything great in life really requires a little bit of risk. But yeah, I think you're right. It's not for everybody, and we have to kind of look within to see if it's right. But when you know it's for you, you do get that itch, and it sounds like it was absolutely correct for you. And I think you know the truth as well. I mean, how stable is one stream of income, a job these days? I mean, it has its own risk these days as well. So don't you find that digital marketing opens up new revenue streams and passive income, affiliate things? I mean, how do you see yourself in 2021 now? What are the big goals, or what are the income streams that you'd like to focus on in the next 12 months?
Definitely, like there's a trend that I'm seeing where other people are using these software as a service, and selling their own method, and packaging it as a product. That's one thing that I'm looking at. uh, Maybe I also feel maybe that place is kind of saturated, but I also feel like, okay, there are still other small business owners out there who still need help. COVID has accelerated the need for doing virtual work. So there is that. And yeah, I think that's one avenue that I'd love to invest more energy in, like look more for people who are like my ideal clients. But also, instead of me just doing the whole work, I'm really feeling like, duplicating what I already know from the Rich and Niche Academy, and
Mhm.
sharing it with others. So in terms of revenue, that's I'm able to produce those things for her, not, for my clients, but I'm also interested in, okay, why not? I'll also set an ambitious goal for myself. I kind of feel like if you're just starting out, it's kind of less risky if you're working with other people, like for other clients, because you know, it's their, how do I say this? It's kind of like, you're kind of like experimenting, and it's kind of okay that, it's the risk isn't so much for you, right? So
Well, you're kind of
I
more
feel
like I get what you're saying, and I see why you're being cautious about it because you don't want to pretend like you're just wasting your client's money, but it is true. Um, Other people's money is a powerful way to learn when it's not your own. And I think that
there you go.
you
Yeah,
can't really avoid that truth. It is true. But the fact is, you're still bringing a lot of skills at that moment and you deserve to be compensated. But it's supporting. It's not, you're not going to own the business at the end of the day. So why is it your risk? Right. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's true. That's why I always tell people like your first job should be with a friend or a family member. You don't get paid. You just get a chance to learn while someone's business is active. You get to see a real result and then take that with you because as consultants, we're only as good as our past experiences have shown what we know and what we can do. So I totally feel you on that. And I think people need to know that, yeah, you shouldn't start out on your own. You shouldn't quit your job and just launch like a brand. You should absolutely start moving away from your job by getting a side hustle, getting your first client, validating the idea, working extra hard. If you think it's good, maybe you go part-time, maybe you quit, but you're not quitting so that you can start your YouTube channel. You're quitting so you can go help this digital revolution, be a part of it. All these new entrepreneurs, business owners, you pay your dues, you sacrifice, you don't get paid that much. You get to see more projects, other people's money, other people's risk. And then 2, 3 years later, you put a few videos out, you write a few blog posts, your credibility is gaining because you have now a portfolio and content. And that's me these days, right? You're on the exact same path. And it's like you've got it right. And people need to know that it's not easy. There is sacrifice. You had to work hard for an entire year just to get to this point. This is a great lesson for everyone out there about how the path looks. And I also want to say you can also leave your job, say in communications or human resource, whatever. You could work at an agency for a little while if you wanted. You don't have to go freelance right away. You could start being more digital marketing focused, get with a small agency like Rich+Niche or like a VaynerMedia or whatnot, and then go freelance once you learn the books. But that's why my course is so valuable. My course kind of lets you skip that agency part where you're doing grunt work just to learn what is a funnel all about. In my course, you feel like you're going through that process with me, like you just did a client. That's something I never really said out loud before, but that's kind of true. That's why I don't tell people to get an agency job very often, because why would you when you know the process that all these small business owners need? And small business owners don't want agencies because they're too expensive. They want a freelancer. We're in a great spot, man. You know the wave is coming. It's going to be 10 years of massive digital investments. There's not nearly enough good marketers and content creators out there who are calling themselves professionals. So, we have a lot of opportunity on the horizon. Let's wrap this up, Daniel. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. Last question I want to ask. I know you said a lot of great things about me and I appreciate it, but if you could leave the audience with just one thing that you think they should know about me or Rich+Niche, if they're thinking about becoming a freelance digital marketer, what do you think they should know about our community and business?
I think you should know that Rich is the real deal. First of all, I really respect Rich because he's not just what's really interesting is that you're saying stuff not based from what you've read, not from what other people are saying. You're really saying things that you've gone through from your own experience and from your own, like, your own thinking, your own words. And that's what I admire about you. Like, everyone can just see this in your YouTube videos as well. So that's just like, for me, that's just kind of like the icing. I feel like the Rich+Niche community is a really great place for people, for freelancers, for people who are thinking about having their own digital business. It's so great because other people are also there coming from different backgrounds. Digital marketing is a general, but there are also other people with different kinds of backgrounds in this gathering, and now it's growing. I think right now we're at 200 students. Is that right?
Yeah, at least now. Yeah.
Yeah. So having those 200 students, all from coming from different backgrounds of digital marketing, the conversation becomes so interesting, full of diversity, and it's so, I know it's so rich with value. And so that's one. But the other thing, like what you're offering right now, the Rich and Niche membership academy, what I love about it is that you are offering a full package of learning experience. It's not just videos that you consume. It's not just like text that you read and then that's okay. You are offering, okay, there are lab sessions. We work together. What are the problems? There's the Yak session. So the Yak session, the Yak is an app, and people can just chime in, ask their question, and you're there to provide value. I think like like hitting every angle. I think there's no way that you will feel like, okay, how am I supposed to do this? So you really have full support on how to, just like what I've done, take the leap of faith.
Yeah, let me add a little bit to that because that was a great sort of intro into the academy because we haven't had that much time to promote it. We only launched it like August.
All
And,
right.
I was really going through 2020 in an agile, flexible, let's try it and see how it goes. I did some Twitch live streams. Then I got into some closed group coaching. Then I started opening it up more into this like open academy. We haven't really talked about how awesome it is or what it's become. So we should do that more in 2021 for sure. I know I say join the academy or whatnot, but what's going on there, you really hit it on the nail on the head. We've covered all of the different learning applications and methods. And whether you want to chat, whether you want to talk, whether you want to come to live class, whether you want to build your own brand, whether you want to work on your client, whether you just want to do basic exercises, whether you want to come live or you want to watch on your own time zone. I mean, we really did the best we could. And it's all because, yeah, like even yourself, I got to admit, we were so motivated in January, February, and then all of a sudden, like so many of us took a hit throughout the year due to the marketing being one of the things that people might turn off during times like this. And you can't blame them. So a lot of people lost work. So we were trying our best to serve as many people at the lowest cost possible, and for me, that is a group dynamic right now. It's having more people where I can just come in at once, nail all the Q&A, get through everyone at once. So it's an important element of our business that we have this scalable access to me, right? Because I cannot answer every email or every question that comes. We have to have a place where people can, convene and get the value. So I hope to explore more of what that is. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I think it's an underrepresented part of our business right now, but it's still very new. So I'm good with it. But anyways, thank you for sharing all of that about your experiences. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Oh yeah, I like one thing that I want to highlight is that you have been so consistent with the collective calls. So I really like that aspect. Maybe you can share with everyone else as well. What are these collective calls?
Yeah, we don't talk much about that because I like it to be a bit more intimate, our community private call. I've been having a call on Tuesday nights for over a year. I never miss. It's the most important community aspect. Sometimes I lecture and people don't say much and they just chat and I give out some, great, powerful keynotes. And sometimes we talk as a group about important issues or about issues arising in our community or more so our industry, digital marketing. And sometimes we have guests on and sometimes we have clients on and we all help them all at once. Like we're doing so many unique applications of a group dynamic. When I saw Zoom calls coming out in 2019, I jumped on that. I knew this Brady Bunch style of video was a new experience and that so many people would want to learn and utilize these. And yeah, we've only just begun, but we're pretty innovative when it comes to the collective call. I've come up with some very unique ideas and that's sort of this wonderful part of my job as a teacher. People don't think of me as a teacher purely very often. They think of that marketer who's kind of sharing you stuff. But yeah, teaching in the modern age is a wonderful thing. And I hope to inspire other people with my methods of teaching. I think in the next few years, that's one of my goals is give people now the framework to teach online. I started with giving people the framework of building yourself online so people can see you and buy from you. What about when they want to learn from you? How do you present that with the modern tools? And that's the thing, Daniel. I say this all the time. It's like, you even said it. We're just the early adopters of the tools that are confusing for people. And we spend the time and figure it out and figure out how it can help a business application. And that is so valuable because to some people, that's so foreign. They have no idea what these tools are. And once you learn one, the next one gets easier and the next one gets easier. And they all kind of feel similar. And you all of a sudden, it's like, I know this one too. That's a great place to end this call. I mean, there's so much here. I hope we left people feeling satisfied with this sort of student success story. Thank you, Daniel. Where can people find you online if they want to track your story? Where do you currently hang out?
So danlardy.com.
Nice.
That's also the website that I built using Notion. So I just want to add one last idea over here, Mr. Rich, because I kind of felt like I was like under delivering what exactly is going through. Because right now I'm kind of I'm usually the guy asking questions, but I want to specify that with the collective calls, what I value most about that is that you're bringing in new tools, new perspectives, and you're letting us try these things for ourselves, right? And what's important that I'm learning, and I want to emphasize on this, is that you are really practical. It's not like, this is a nice theory you can try. No, you're like, do this and see for yourself the result. And I can really attest to this, like, confirm with you guys that the results that's coming from, like, that's being produced with my clients and for myself, I really, I'm so grateful with what I'm going through with Rich's courses, with the Academy. So definitely check it out.
I appreciate those extra words of confidence. And just so you guys know, he's talking about software like Miro, Notion, Airtable. I do these group exercises so people can get a taste of what I'm using in my business. And that's an onboarding into what's possible for them. And sometimes you get this inspiration. Oh, I could use it this way, even though he taught me this way. At least now I know. And that's part of that new Commander series I put out with how to organize yourself. By the way, you should definitely do that for yourself. Maybe in a Filipino language or dialect, you might have a whole population who hasn't seen Notion yet, because I know you're an expert in Notion as well. We're all in our community getting pretty good at it. Anyways, this was a great call. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Let's do it again in the future to see where you're at. We're going to be tracking your results, Daniel. So you have a lot of pressure. Keep it up. Let's have another 3x year. Let's triple that income again.
Yeah.
But let's do it by giving value, right? Let's just bring more value to more people. Figure out scalable ways to use our time, and we're going to make it. So thanks again for joining me today.
Thanks to Mr. Rich.
Hey, what are you on Twitter, by the way? What's your Twitter name?
Yeah, it's at Daniel_Lardy.
Awesome. Guys, check out Daniel on Twitter. He's over there on Twitter with me. We're having conversations. Join the conversation with us, guys. And don't forget to leave a review on this podcast. Like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. There's more digital marketing student success stories to come. We'll see you guys next time.